From an employee saying he hates customers,
I literally hate customers more than anything in the entire world. I hate them so much.
to a fast food manager threatening to beat his own employee in the parking lot,
So if you go on overtime, I can take you outside and beat you up, right?
here are the worst employees that got caught sabotaging their own company. Starting with Ronnie, the shift supervisor, who clocked into Boston Market with a personal mission to make every single customer regret walking through the front door. While dealing with difficult customers as part of any fast food job, Ronnie took his deep-seated resentment to an extreme level.
How much of this stuff about hating customers is really true?
I'm gonna say like 75% of it is true.
While Boston Market was heavily investing in a major brand turnaround to protect its market share, this supervisor was proud to treat the company's core asset, its guests, like a personal inconvenience.
Children and old people are literally the worst I've ever seen in my entire life.
And with every single shift he ran, his hostility toward the public only got worse. To understand how this operational disaster unfolded, you have to look at Sarah Bittorf, the chief brand officer, who was in charge of protecting the brand's reputation, hoping to evaluate food quality, check on employee morale, and ensure that standard operating procedures were being followed.
And the restaurant level employees are at the front line of the brand. If they're not delivering our brand values, nothing that I can do from a marketing perspective can change that.
She put on a heavy disguise, assumed the alias Rachel, and went undercover as an entry-level trainee. But the moment she stepped inside the Duluth, Georgia location, she ran directly into a major problem named Ronnie. At first glance, Ronnie seemed like a great worker, showing plenty of energy and moving around the restaurant like he knew exactly what he was doing. But the second he began training Rachel on how to talk to guests, his act completely fell apart, giving way to a toxic mindset that left Hillary speechless.
This is how everything unfolds. Standard procedure is to greet the customer as they walk in, say, hello, welcome to Boston Market, blah, 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 whatever. Because we have to make customers, on a pedestal.
Without a single shred of hesitation or professional filter, Ronnie launched into an incredibly aggressive rant on how much he hated talking to people, making it very clear that he hated customers, hated serving food, and viewed the entire customer base with absolute contempt. On top of that, he felt entirely entitled to preach this toxic philosophy to a brand new trainee, actively teaching the undercover boss that the primary goal of a Boston Market employee was to treat paying guests with as much disdain as humanly possible.
You should be asking customers, like, hey, would you like to sample our loaded mashed potatoes? It shouldn't be a question. You should be forcing it down their throat, because that is what corporate has told us to do. We don't ask questions, we just work like robots.
Sarah Bittorf could not believe the disaster happening right in front of her eyes, but things got even worse from there when the lunch rush started and more customers came in to buy food. Ronnie didn't even try to hide his toxic attitude for the sake of the business.
Children and old people are literally the worst I've ever seen in my entire life, because none of them know what they want and they're like literally can't talk. So you just kind of have to deal with it.
Instead, he did his absolute best to make the environment as hostile as possible, mocking the guest-specific food orders right after they spoke.
This is a sandwich station. I hate making sandwiches. Customers always have something picky about a sandwich to do, so.
And even complaining about the customers loud enough for them to hear him from the dining room.
I literally hate customers more than anything in the entire world. I hate them so much. They're terrible. It's all about them all the time, and they demand everything.
Wow.
But it's okay, we suffer through.
Sarah had to step away for a moment just to process the case of terrible leadership in front of her. This was a shift supervisor, the exact person responsible for enforcing quality control, managing team behavior, and protecting the restaurant's daily revenue. Instead, he was destroying the store's relationship in the neighborhood. The situation became even more tense because Ronnie was fully aware that a major documentary camera crew was recording his every move, yet he still continued to double down on his toxic behavior without a single care in the world. And when Sarah realized this was how he acted every day, she knew she had to stop the show and take action. During the dinner rush, Ronnie's bad behavior finally reached the breaking point. His attitude was so bad that it was driving customers away for good. Though when Sarah attempted to gently guide him toward a more customer-centric approach, her constructive feedback was met with immediate pushback and an even deeper commitment to his unprofessional behavior. For a big brand trying to keep loyal customers, Ronnie's actions were the worst kind of sabotage. But Ronnie was making a choice to use his power to ruin the restaurant's reputation. He was being mean to the very people who paid for his paycheck. Some bad workers are just lazy or not very good at their jobs, but Ronnie was consciously choosing to use his position of authority to run the restaurant's reputation straight into the ground, completely alienating the very people whose hard-earned money funded the payroll.
More than anything in the entire world. I hate them so much. They do. It's all about them all the time, and they demand everything.
Wow.
But it's okay, we suffer through.
That was the moment Sarah Bittorf knew she couldn't keep Ronnie on the team for even one more day. Usually, the bosses on the show wait until the end to reveal who they are. However, Sarah decided she had to step in right away to save the restaurant from more damage.
We depend on our management to put forth the best product and experience that we can. So I was dismayed to hear that. It's unacceptable to our brand.
She stopped production mid-investigation, stepped out of her entry-level role, and summoned the shift supervisor directly into a private room for an immediate high-stakes confrontation.
Yes, sure. Everything all right?
Not really.
Why?
Sarah stripped away her false identity as Rachel and revealed her true corporate title as the Chief Brand Officer of Boston Market. Ronnie's confident smirk quickly vanished as the reality of the situation set in, realizing that the trainee he had spent all day instructing to hate customers was actually the exact executive who held his entire career in her hands. Sarah didn't hold back, detailing every single toxic statement, every mock customer interaction, and the complete and total failure of leadership he had displayed throughout the shift. Faced with the undeniable truth of his own actions, Ronnie could offer zero valid excuses, leaving Sarah with only one logical choice: terminating his employment on the spot. When clips of this mid-episode termination went online, people reacted strongly, with many viewers expressing absolute shock at the sheer audacity of Ronnie's workplace behavior, with one viewer writing, "Ronnie's the perfect example of what's wrong with the world today," while another focused on his intense hatred towards customers, saying, "This guy can poison his customers." At the very least, though, Ronnie's swift removal served as a massive wake-up call for the entire franchise network. And although the Duluth store was a little short on workers due to how quickly Ronnie left, the remaining staff members immediately stepped up to fill the void, showing that the location's core problems didn't stem from a lack of talent, but rather from the toxic influence of a supervisor who actively sabotaged the brand from within. After the confrontation, Sarah Bittorf used this experience to implement far stricter leadership training protocols across all national locations. In the end, Ronnie became one of the most famous examples of what not to do at work. He proved that if you try to ruin your company, you will eventually lose your job. But while Ronnie's hatred for customers was the poison destroying Boston Market, our next case shows a different breed of toxic manager, one whose rage wasn't directed at the paying guests, but at the very employees trying to serve them. In this episode of Undercover Boss, Rick Silva, the CEO of Checkers and Rallies, decided to disguise as a man named Alex Garcia, a former pharmacy owner trying to rebuild his life. Silva wanted to evaluate how well store-level operations were running under high-pressure conditions. His journey eventually led him to a franchise location in Homestead, Florida. Upon arriving, Silva was placed at the Hot Grill and Fry station, and he was paired with a dedicated, longtime employee named Todd, who was responsible for showing him how to handle the heavy dinner rushes. At first, the environment seemed like a typical fast food kitchen. Todd was patient and methodical, doing his best to explain the daily routine to the new trainee. However, because Silva was looking closely at operational efficiency, it didn't take long for the first massive red flag to appear. During a quiet moment at the station, Todd casually revealed that he had never received any formal training. Because of this lack of structured training, the kitchen staff was forced to figure things out on their own.
How long did it take you to get the hang of it?
Me, it didn't take me too long because I kind of sort of trained myself.
The missing training was concerning, but it quickly became clear that a much bigger problem was running the store. The biggest problem showed up when the store's general manager, Stevens, walked into the kitchen. And instead of supporting his busy team during a mounting rush, Stevens immediately began radiating intense negativity. As orders began stacking up, the pressure inside the kitchen rose. Rather than managing the flow calmly, Stevens began screaming directly at his employees.
I need you to drop what you're doing. I need you to take some trash out.
His aggressive vocabulary and hostile tone quickly shattered the team's morale, causing the line workers to panic and make frequent mistakes.
So if you go on overtime, I can take you outside and beat you up, right?
Silva watched in silence as the situation rapidly deteriorated. This behavior directly slowed down the drive-thru times, sabotaging the exact fast service model that Checkers relies on to stay competitive. Then the situation took an even darker turn. As the dinner rush hit its absolute peak, Stevens lost his temper even further. Silva stood just feet away as the manager openly threatened physical violence against a frustrated employee, loudly stating that he would take them out back and beat them. For Rick Silva, this crossed a clear legal and ethical boundary. So shortly after this outburst, Todd pulled Silva aside and confirmed that this toxic behavior was a daily occurrence. Because the employees were constantly subjected to these threats, the store suffered from high turnover and terrible operational performance. By this point, Silva had seen and heard more than enough. While the format of the show usually requires the executive to finish their work week undercover, Silva realized that leaving this manager in charge for another hour was a direct threat to employee safety. Acting on pure instinct, Silva broke character early. He stopped the kitchen line, looked directly at Stevens, and asked him to step completely outside the restaurant to have a serious conversation away from the kitchen staff. Once they walked out to the parking lot, Silva wasted no time. He pulled off his analytical disguise and revealed his true identity as the chief executive officer of the company. The sudden transformation completely stunned Stevens. His aggressive posture instantly vanished, replaced by an expression of pure shock. Silva directly confronted him about his abusive management style, explaining how his threats were destroying the staff and actively ruining the restaurant's business. Realizing his career was in immediate jeopardy, Stevens attempted to defend his actions. He argued that the high-stress environment of a fast food rush caused him to lose his temper, claiming it was just his way of motivating the team to move faster. Silva completely rejected the excuse, making it clear that corporate culture has zero tolerance for workplace abuse.
And guess what? I know the right way to do it, and I know the wrong way to do it. And what I saw here today is completely the wrong way to do it.
Because he refused to let his employees spend another minute under a toxic manager, Silva made an unprecedented decision right there in the parking lot. He ordered the entire restaurant to be shut down immediately for the night. Drive-thru lanes were blocked off, the lights were turned off, and the staff was sent home with full pay. Stevens was officially suspended on the spot, pending a thorough corporate investigation, which ultimately led to a complete management overhaul at that location. By shutting down production to protect his workforce from an abusive boss, Silva showed that protecting internal culture is more valuable than a single night of profit. While Stevens sabotaged his location through intense workplace hostility and emotional abuse, the next case features an employee who actively damaged her company through complete laziness and obvious disrespect for brand standards. In this episode, Eric Casabury, the high-energy founder and CEO of Retro Fitness, went undercover within his own gym franchise. Operating under the alias Barry, a regular guy competing in a reality television show for a chance to win a business investment, Casabury wanted to see if his frontline staff were upholding the energetic, customer-first standards of his fitness brand. His undercover operation brought him to the franchise location in Fair Lawn, New Jersey. There, he was assigned to shadow a front desk associate named Jacqueline. Her primary responsibilities included greeting gym members, answering the phones, and preparing specialized health drinks at the location's smoothie bar. The shift began at the front of the entrance, and it didn't take long for Jacqueline to display a complete lack of professional work ethic. Instead of teaching Barry how to properly welcome members, she immediately started talking about all the ways she gets out of doing her job. With total confidence, Jacqueline bragged about using her shift hours to text her friends, scroll through social media, and ignore the ringing office phones.
I find myself over here, like this, taking pictures of myself. You can run your gym the way you want it to run.
Right.
You can have your employees not take out their phone and take selfies all day, but that's what I like to do. I don't know, I just do my thing. And
As gym members walked past the desk, Jacqueline's behavior went from being lazy to openly disrespectful.
your payment, your payment's overdue.
I know, I gotta pay. I'm gonna pay it tomorrow.
No, you have to pay today.
Nuh-uh, Jen.
Hello, no, listen. How many times do I have to tell you? Don't with me, dude.
She openly told Casabury that she found the customers annoying and didn't care about their fitness goals. Because she was broadcasting this negative energy at the main entrance, she was creating a bad first impression for members walking into the gym and sabotaging the gym's welcoming environment.
Tell you. Don't with me, dude.
The situation grew significantly worse when the training moved over to the juice bar station. Retro Fitness relies heavily on its custom smoothie recipes to generate high-profit secondary revenue. However, Jacqueline proudly explained that she completely ignored the official corporate recipe cards. Instead of measuring out the expensive ingredients properly, she stated that she preferred just to wing it, throwing random amounts of fruits, powders, and liquids into the blender without measuring anything or following the recipe. By overpouring ingredients, she was directly sabotaging the franchise's profit margins and creating inconsistent products for the consumers. When Cassabury tried to gently suggest following the official corporate guidelines, Jacqueline became instantly irritated, rolling her eyes and displaying an intense attitude toward him. As the afternoon hours continued, the tension between the two escalated dramatically. Jacqueline grew increasingly hostile towards Cassabury.
You don't have people skills, Barry. I'm sorry. You're so condescending and rude to me. I really can't stand it.
Oh, I would never be.
Just
because he wasn't picking up her lazy shortcuts fast enough.
since that I work here every single day and I know what I'm doing. I know I've been here for 2 years.
She began snapping at him over minor issues, using highly unprofessional language in plain view of gym patrons. The atmosphere became so incredibly awkward that nearby gym members visibly stopped what they were doing to watch the interaction unfold. Rather than representing the brand with pride, Jacqueline was creating a public scene that made the business look completely chaotic. With a huge amount of internal frustration, Cassabury was running out of patience. He realized that her toxic attitude was actively pushing clients towards canceling their monthly memberships.
Just thinking that she's going to be on another shift possibly, and she could be working again tomorrow, and the wrath of her is going to occur to some of my members. It's really bothering the crap out of me.
Unable to tolerate her disrespect any longer, Cassabury decided to end his undercover shift hours early. He walked out of the building to clear his head and prepare for the final corporate intervention. Once the undercover phase of production officially wrapped, Cassabury returned to the corporate headquarters and removed his reality show disguise. He then arranged a formal meeting with Jacqueline, alongside the location's actual franchise owner, Bob. When Jacqueline walked into the boardroom, she was clearly expecting a casual conversation. However, the moment Cassabury started speaking in his real voice, her face dropped. The CEO immediately laid out her actions step by step, addressing her constant phone usage, her refusal to answer calls, and her complete disregard for the official smoothie recipes. Instead of apologizing for her clear lack of professionalism, Jacqueline chose to react with intense anger. She immediately became defensive, interrupting the CEO and trying to minimize her actions by claiming that everyone else at the gym behaved the exact same way. As Cassabury pointed out how her rude comments directly harmed the gym's paying customers, Jacqueline rolled her eyes and stated she did not care. Seeing her complete lack of remorse, Bob, the franchise owner, decided that he'd seen enough. Bob stepped directly into the conversation and told Jacqueline that her behavior was completely unacceptable. Because she showed absolutely zero accountability and refused to respect the brand, Bob looked her in the eyes and delivered the final verdict. She was fired on the spot. Even after receiving the official termination notice, Jacqueline remained completely combative. She gathered her things, slung insults at the executives, and stormed out of the corporate office without showing a single shred of regret for her actions. While Jacqueline's toxicity came from what she refused to do, our next manager's nightmare was what he actively chose to do, turning his restaurant into a circus of humiliation and control. In this early episode of Undercover Boss, Kobe Brooks, the president and CEO of Hooters of America, decided to leave his comfortable corporate office. He shaved his signature goatee and put on a disguise to act as a regular guy named Kyle who was trying to find a new career path. His journey eventually brought him to a busy franchise location in Texas, where he met the location's general manager, a man named Jimbo. Right from the start, Jimbo seemed extremely confident in the way he ran the restaurant. He was more than happy to show the new trainee exactly how he ran this restaurant, but his methods immediately raised serious red flags for the undercover CEO. Before the restaurant even opened its doors to the public, Jimbo called all the female servers together for what he called a mandatory appearance inspection. He had the employees line up side by side while he walked down the row, commenting on their hair, makeup, and uniforms. As Gobi watched from the sidelines, the situation became increasingly uncomfortable when Jimbo made offensive remarks directly to the staff, treating the female workers more like displays to be evaluated rather than employees to be respected. Once the lunch rush ended, the restaurant became slow, and Jimbo decided that it was time to send some of the servers home early. For waitstaff who rely heavily on tips to make a living, standing around an empty restaurant meant that they weren't making any money. Because of this, getting cut early from a dead shift was a coveted prize that the servers eagerly hoped for. But instead of using a fair rotation or looking at performance schedules to decide who got to clock out, Jimbo announced that the girls would have to compete for the right to leave. He created a demeaning contest that he called his reindeer games. He placed plates of baked beans on a table and told the servers they had to eat them as fast as possible without using their hands. The situation quickly grew worse when one of the servers spoke up. She explained that she really needed to leave because she had had college classes to attend. Instead of listening to her request, Jimbo completely shut her down. He told her that she had no choice and shouted that she was going to play the game. As the girls smashed their faces onto the plates of beans, Jimbo stood over them laughing and cheering. He yelled out offensive phrases while the employees endured the public humiliation just to go to school or go home.
Suck her down. Good times. All right.
They seem to like those kind of things.
By this point, the tension in the room had become so intense as Kobe was quietly losing his temper as he realized this manager was completely sabotaging the corporate brand and creating a deeply toxic environment. He stepped in and asked Jimbo if the staff actually enjoyed these activities, but Jimbo merely threw his hands in the air and claimed that there were no rules in the store. Jimbo continued to make unprofessional comments and openly showed a complete lack of respect for corporate standards. He seemed entirely convinced that he could treat his staff however he wanted without any consequences. Eventually, the undercover week came to an end, and it was time for the final boardroom meetings. When Jimbo walked into corporate headquarters, he was still acting relaxed and confident. However, that confidence instantly vanished the moment Kobe removed his disguise and revealed his true identity as the CEO. From there, Kobe didn't hold back. He confronted Jimbo directly about the uniform inspections and the horrific baked bean contest. He explained exactly how unacceptable it was to treat the staff like commodities. Jimbo immediately began stuttering, trying to defend his actions as harmless team-building exercises. Instead of accepting responsibility, Jimbo continued to make excuses for his behavior. Kobe had heard more than enough. He made it clear that Jimbo's management style was a direct threat to the company's values and reputation. Kobe issued a strict ultimatum, demanding an immediate apology to the entire staff and a complete overhaul of his behavior if he wanted to keep his job. The confrontation proved to be too much for the arrogant manager. Realizing that his days of abusing power were officially over, Jimbo chose to quit the company shortly after the episode filmed rather than face the new corporate scrutiny. While Jimbo sabotaged his location through public humiliation, the next manager created a disaster by combining extreme laziness with verbal abuse. In this episode, Paul D'Amico, the president of Moe's Southwest Grill, went undercover inside his fast-growing restaurant chain. Posing as a trainee named Mark Richards, his official cover story was that he was there competing on a reality show to win money to start his own business. Paul wanted to check on store operations and verify that his local managers were upholding the positive, high-energy culture that the brand was famous for. He eventually arrived at a franchise location in Fort Myers, Florida, where he was introduced to a 19-year-old shift manager named Tito. At first, Tito seemed like a young guy who simply enjoyed being in charge. However, it took less than an hour for Paul to realize that Tito possessed a dangerous combination of arrogance and complete laziness. The trouble began when the kitchen required a thorough cleaning before the afternoon rush. Instead of helping or leading by example, Tito stood to the side with his arms crossed. He openly explained to Paul that as a manager, he was far too important to do dirty work like washing counters or scrubbing equipment. As Paul struggled with the basic prep tasks, Tito offered zero helpful guidance. Instead, he chose to look down on the new trainee and made constant snide remarks. The situation quickly escalated from simple unprofessionalism to active workplace bullying. Whenever an hourly employee made even a minor mistake during food prep, Tito did not offer constructive feedback. Instead, he resorted to insulting his coworkers. Paul watched in absolute shock as Tito openly called another team member a ding-dong right in front of customers.
Oh my God, you are just a ding-dong.
The name-calling instantly destroyed the energy in the kitchen. The rest of the staff looked visibly miserable, and the entire flow of service began to fall apart. Tito's toxic attitude was actively tanking employee morale, which directly caused the restaurant's customer service to suffer. By the middle of the dinner rush, the kitchen was falling far behind on orders. Rather than stepping in to help his overwhelmed team on the line, Tito continued to lounge near the register. He barked orders at everyone else while completely ignoring his own managerial duties.
Yeah, where are you going? I ain't helping.
He's just saying, do this, do that. That's not a good thing.
For Paul, this behavior crossed a major line because Tito was now sabotaging the store's operational efficiency and running off good employees with his toxic behavior. Paul had to fight the urge to break his cover right there in the kitchen.
Inside, I'm saying to myself, I'm the president of this brand, and I'm actually evaluating your performance right now, but I'm keeping that in.
Tito remained completely oblivious to the fact that the clumsy trainee he was insulting was actually the president of the entire corporation. He even joked about how easy it was to make the hourly workers do all his tasks while he took credit for the shift.
Perk of being manager, I don't have to do no damn cleaning. Okay. That's what these guys are for, and you'll be doing that tonight.
A trained shift supervisor would not be directing employees in the manner that Tito is directing them.
When the undercover phase concluded, Paul returned to the corporate boardroom and discarded his disguise. He called Tito in for the final meeting, and the young shift manager walked in expecting a glowing review and a potential prize from the fake reality show. The moment Paul revealed his true identity, Tito's mouth dropped open. The entire room went dead silent as Paul laid out every single infraction he had witnessed during the shift, focusing heavily on the lazy work ethic and the verbal abuse. Tito immediately became highly defensive. He tried to claim that his insults were just jokes and that he was simply trying to keep the staff focused. However, Paul wasn't buying any of his excuses. He told Tito flat out that calling associates names like Ding Dong was an absolute failure of leadership. Paul explained that a true manager must earn the respect of their team by working hard alongside them, not by sitting back and insulting them. Because of Tito's young age, Paul decided not to terminate him on the spot. Instead, he offered him a very strict probationary path to redemption. Paul announced that he was personally flying Tito to corporate headquarters in another state. There, Tito would be forced to undergo intensive management and sensitivity training. Furthermore, Paul stripped him of his immediate authority until he could prove that he knew how to treat his frontline workers with basic human dignity. Tito looked incredibly humbled as he realized just how close he had come to destroying his own career through his unprofessional actions. He accepted the corporate training program and promised to completely change his attitude moving forward.